Start in the name of Allah, who is merciful and most beneficent. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hopefully, you all will be fine. Today, we are going to discuss Shikwa Jawab Shikwa. In today's lecture, particularly, we will discuss only Shikwa, and the stanzas will be there from 1 to 7. Before going with the stanza, I would like to discuss some introduction. Shikwa, the complaint, was first recited by Iqbal in 1909 at gathering of the Anjaman-e-Himayat-e-Islam in Lahore. It created a sensation. It has ever since remained one of his most controversial compositions, as passionately lauded by its many admirers. As it has been criticized by others, though only a few have expressed reservation about its poetic qualities, there are many who question its message. While lauding with achievements of Muslim warriors and civilizing the role of Islam, the poet also reveals an art who willed contempt for non-Muslims, particularly Hindus. Shikwa may be regarded as the first manifesto of the two-nation theory, which was later elaborated in detail by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali and accepted by the basis of the foundation of separate state for the Muslim Pakistan by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. At the time poem was published, Orthodox Muslims also objected to some of the vocabulary used by Iqbal, particularly the use of the word unfaithful for God, harjai. Iqbal was obviously conscious of his discharge against him when 4 years later he composed Jawab-e-Shikwa. So that was a reply by Allah to his complaint. So that was introduction. So dear students, we are going to discuss verses. In first stanza, if we look upon क्यों ज़ियाकार बनूं सोद फरामोश रहूं फ़िक्रे फ़र्दा ना करूं महवे गमो दोष रहूं नाले बुलबुल के सुनूं और हमतन गोश रहूं हमनवा मैं भी कोई गुल हूं कि खामोश रहूं जुर्रत आमोज़ मेरी ताबे सुखन है मुझको शिकवा अल्लाह से खाका में बदन है मुझको. So the theme of the Shikwa is the poet's complaint against Allah for having been unfair to the Muslim community. But after tendering an apology, stanza 1, for the audacity of addressing Allah, the poet goes on to protest that if it had not been for the Muslim, the message of the unity of good head would not have been spread into the world. So, in this stanza, he is saying, why must I forever lose, forever forgo profit that is my due? Sunk in the gloom of the evening past, no plans for the tomorrow pursue. Why must I all attentive be the nightingale's lament friendly? I am as a dumb as a flower, must I remain silent? My theme makes me bold, makes my tongue more eloquent. Dust be in my mouth, against Allah I make complaint. So in this one stanza he is telling and he is expressing his belief towards God. So within our next stanza he is saying, we won renown for submitting to your will, and it is so. We spoke out now, we are compelled to repeat our tale of woe. We are like the silent lute whose chords are full of vice. When grief wells up for our lips, we speak, we have no choice. Lord God, we are your faithful servant. For a while with us bear, it is in our nature to always praise you. A small plaint also here. So है बजा शेवा तस्लीम में मशहूर हैं हम, किस्सा दर्द सुनाते हैं कि मजबूर हैं हम. साज़े खामोश हैं, फरियाद से मामूर हैं हम, नाला आता है अगर लब पे तो माजूर हैं हम। ए खुदा शिकवा अरबाब वफ़ा भी सुन ले, खू गरे हमसे थोड़ा गिला भी सुन ले। सो इन दीज लाइन्स poet is basically addressing towards God, and particularly he is complaining and he is saying something, complaint towards God. And if we'll see the third stanza, in the third stanza there is some sort of worship of idols, and trees would have continued to flourish and different races and religions remained indifferent. So within a third stanza he is discussing something else. थी तो मौजूद अज़ल से ही तेरे ज़ाते कदीम, फूल था ज़ेब चमन पर ना परेशान थी शीम। शर्त इंसाफ है ए साहिब अल्ताफ़ अमीम, बोए गुल फैलती किस तरह जो होती ना नसीम। हमको जमीयत खातिर ये परेशानी थी, वरना उम्मत तेरे महबूब की दीवानी थी। दैट योर प्रेजेंस वॉज प्रिंसिपल primal from the beginning of time is true. The rose also adorned the garden, but of its fragrance no one knew. Justice is all we ask for. You are perfect, you are benevolent. If there were no breeze, how could the rose have spread its scent? We, your people, were dispersed. No slants could we find, or would your beloved's following have gone out of its mind. So there is something interesting, as we have discussed that in the third stanza, worshippers of idols and trees would have continued to flourish. The differences and religious remained indifferent. So there is something he is saying towards the Muslim, that how they have to come over these things. एंड इन द नेक्स्ट स्टांजा, हमसे पहले था जब तेरे जहाँ का मंजर, कहीं मस्जूद थे पत्थर कहीं मस्जूद शजर, खू गरे पै कर महसूस थी इंसान की नज़र, मानता फिर कोई अन देखे खुदा को क्यों कर, तुझको मालूम है लेता था कोई नाम तेरा, कुव्वत बाजुए मुस्लिम ने क्या काम तेरा। बिफोर आवर टाइम्स अ स्ट्रेंज साइट वाज द वर्ल्ड यू हैड मेड, देयर वाज सम सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स unseen. Some worshipped stones, idols, others bowed to trees and prayed, accustomed to believing what they saw. The people's vision wasn't free. How then could anyone believe in God he couldn't see? Do you know of anyone, Lord, who then took your name? I asked. It was the muscle in the muscle's arm that didn't your task. So that is very interesting. He is saying it was the Muslim who carried, and all the things that before us, what were the circumstances, how the people were worshipping you, and how the things were there. People were worshipping the trees, people were worshipping the idols, and etc etc. And in the next stanza, बस रहे तेरे यहीं सलजोक भी तोरानी भी, अहले ची ची हैं ईरान में सासानी भी, इसी मामूरे में आबाद थे यूनानी भी, इसी दुनिया में यहूदी भी थे नसरानी भी। पर तेरे नाम पे तलवार उठाई किसने, बात जो बिगड़ी हुई थी वो बनाई किसने। दिस इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। Here on this earth were settled the Seljuks and the others. The Chinese lived in China, in Iran lived the Sasanians. The Greek flourished in their allotted regions. In the very world wide lived Jews and Christians. But who did draw their sword in your name and fight? When things had gone wrong, who put them right? So this is very interesting. He is saying it was the Muslim who carried all the conquering sword of Islam according to the across the Africa desert into Europe. In this stanza, he is telling to God that how Muslims have their responsibility and how they have done with these beautiful things. And थे हमें एक तेरे मार्का आराओं में, खुशकियों में कभी लड़ते कभी दरियाओं में, दी अजाने कभी यूरोप के केल्साओं में, कभी अफ्रीका के तपते हुए सहराओं में। शान आंखों में न जचती थी जहांदारों की, कलमा पढ़ते थे हम छाओं में तलवारों की। Of all brave warriors there were none but only we, who fought your battles on land and often on the sea. Our calls to prayers rang out from the churches of European lands and floated across the African's scorching desert sands. We ruled the world, but regal glorious our eyes disdained. Under the shades of glittering sabres, your creed who proclaimed. So this is very beautiful. He is saying they did not do to acquire the wealth of domain, but only to glorify the name of God. So that was the thing, that how we have sought and how we have fought for the God. He is saying that we have done on the very different scenario, and very different things were being done by Muslims, as well as Africa is concerned, as well as different lands are concerned, as well as deserts are concerned, as well as seas are concerned. सो इन द लास्ट वन, हम जो जीते थे तो जंगों की मुसीबत के लिए, और मरते थे तेरे नाम की अजमत के लिए। थी ना कुछ तैक जनी अपनी हुकूमत के लिए, सर बकैफ फिरते थे क्या दहर में दौलत के लिए। कौम अपनी जो ज़ोर माल पे ज़ोर माले जहाँ पर मरती, बुत फरोशी के अवज़ बुत शिकनी क्यों करती। ऑल वी लिव्ड फॉर वाज टू बैटल, we bore to troubles that came, and laid down our lives for the glory of your names. We never used our strength to conquer our extent domain. Would we have played with our lives for nothing but worldly gain? If our people had run after earth's good and gold, need they have smashed idols and not idols sold? So this, in this last one, he is telling they fought against the heavy hordes. They were doing all the things just for the sake of name of God. They were not doing for their own interest. They were not doing for their wealth. They were not doing for the sake of their own interest, but they were doing on the name of Allah. In the name of Allah, they were doing each and everything. In this first 7 stanza, this is very beautiful thing, but on the last he's saying, but carried everything from Iran to Rome before them. So this is very beautiful thing, that how the Iqbal is addressing. And in this very beautiful verses, 7 stanzas, there are a lot of messages there, that how Muslim have done something for Allah. And the very beautiful thing, he is saying that we haven't done each and everything just for our own interest, just for our wealth, just for the sake of our profit, but he is saying that we have done just only due to name of God, in the name of God. For as well as other stanzas are concerned, in the start he is telling that we don't know who were worshipping you, we don't know how the things were there, but the Muslim was there who were doing the same thing for you in a proper way, because you deserve to be obeyed. That's all.